tar sands in Alberta represent the largest industrial development on the planet. And as we've heard over the years, this is a very, very key element of the economic future of this country. But a development of this size, of course, has far more than simply economic consequences. There are huge social, ecological, and cultural effects of this huge development, which have tended to be ignored. And I thank Neil Young for bringing up the question of what Canadians really stand for in terms of treaties that are being made for the First Nations.
To be clear on the fact that, what we're doing is that we're raising awareness on the treaty issue. The Athabasca Chipewyan First Nation is fully engaged in economic development with the oil sands in our region. We're totally for economic development for our future generations to come, but we want to do it in a reasonable way. However we could say it sustainably, that's the key message in more ways than one.
I have said before that the integrity of Canada is at stake with this, and I still feel that way. I think when you make a deal, that you got to stick with the deal that you made. If you're going to change the deal, you got to talk to the people you made the deal with, and you got to change it. And the other thing I learned while I was growing up is, if you make a mess, clean it up before you do anything else. My mother told me that over and over again until I finally got it right. Now it's time for us to get it right. We've made a huge mess.
How do you get the average Canadian who doesn't know anything about treaties, who says, I'm not involved in a treaty, I'm not a First Nation person, how do you get them to say, it's time for me to care, and it's time for me to listen and understand that this has an impact on all of us?
I think more ways than one that, as a general public, you have a treaty that you don't understand because your government signed it on your behalf. And you as citizens have the obligation to understand that treaty first and foremost, because it's shrined in your Canadian Constitution.
We signed a contract. Canada signed a contract. Are you saying that people across Canada don't give a, they don't care? We made a deal, now we don't care because we weren't there. We don't understand what it is, so it's no good. This is a country. We have a government. We elected these people. They made the deal. This is who we are. We're Canada. We're all Canadians. Most of our cities are named after First Nations words. We have a deal. It doesn't matter. If you have a deal, you buy a house. What do you say? Well, I don't think I'm going to pay for it. That's what a deal is. It's a treaty. Any deal is a treaty. It's like it's an arrangement. The thing that's important is people that are knowledgeable about these things are discussing them with one another, and some are doing it for Canada and some are doing it for the First Nations. They should do their work, but until that is done, we shouldn't do any more of the destruction of the land and plundering of the land that's against the treaties. While we're talking about the treaties and making the consultations that are called for in the treaties, the idea is to not do anything, talk about it, then decide what to do, then do it. Not keep doing it while you're talking about it and delay a conclusion on the talks.
We know now that mercury is putting out that industry is putting out increasing mercury every year, and we know that in the past 30 years, mercury in fish-eating birds has increased by 30 or 40% as a result. Well, there are also people that eat those fish. We already have a problem there, and I think that problem is growing. We have spring melt with these pollutants in it. When the snow melts, that we know based on Environment Canada's work is toxic to fish embryos in the river.
I'll tell you what, as far as muskrats go, and as far as animals and birds go, and the people who live on those lands, it is like a war zone, a disaster area from war, what's happened up there. It's gone. Reclamation is a myth. You can have reclamation, and maybe in many years it might look sort of like it used to, but underneath it's not the same. And that's why the First Nations people feel like the spirit of the land is being broken. This is something that we have now. If we take care of it, everybody's going to look at it in the future and go, that is really beautiful. We're so glad we kept it, because now we're doing things differently, which we will do differently. We won't be in the fossil fuel age forever. We will move past this, and then we'll be going, oh my God, what did we do? Look at these areas. We killed all of this. It's not going to be a good thing for our grandchildren if we don't do something.